Hey YouTube, Dizzy here with another XCOM 2 mod video for you, and today I'm looking at configuration overrides using the ModBuddy SDK tools that were given to us by FireAxis. And I want to put it right out there as we start this video that this is for informational purposes of how to make adjustments to things like the configuration using the tools, and it's by no means perfect, and I will continue to research as I make my own research. I will continue to do that and present videos for you and any updates that I learn how to do things better. This one specifically surrounding how to do configuration updates on the weapons, but this video will show you how I got to the point of finding out how to use the configurations to my advantage, go through the classes, find what I need, and get it out there. And it's very simple. There is not much work to do, so it's a great tutorial and intro to kind of poking around in the tools. So let's get going. Here's the schedule of things to do. We're going to do a demo, show you what's going on and what I did, some of the issues, and the tutorial at the end here. And we should be able to wrap this up pretty quick. So here's my shotgun override. I did a critical chance 100%. I increased the aim and clip size, and I also included the SMG pack and the example weapon from a previous video, so we can see the effects of other weapons being added to the game. And then I'll speak to some of the issues that I've run into doing this configuration update in this fashion. So here's one of the issues that I've come across extending the default weapon class where the configuration lives, is that there's this red screen issue that comes up. But I can tell you that this red screen issue does not stop the configuration from updating. It doesn't affect any of the other weapons that are in the game. It gives you all these red names, but I don't think it actually does any damage or lasting damage. So if we go into the soldiers and we look at the specialist, I've done some playtesting and I can show you that the SMG and my example rifle are both in the game, and they both have their stats, and all the other weapons have their stats, so it did not mess with that. And all the things look normal, and they play normally, and I played it in some of the tactical game, and everything seemed to be working fine. So again, red screen doesn't seem to be effective. But my mod, just specifically for the damage of the shotgun, so the wrong class there. If you look at the shotgun, and this is just the conventional shotgun, you can see my damage is increased. Or no, excuse me, the damage is the same because I didn't increase that, but the clip size, crit chance, and aim is all right there for you to view, and those are my additions. Awesome, right? Exactly. It's a very easy mod, very easy to put out there. And let's go back to the mod screen, and then again we're going to be looking at the demo, which we just went over. And the thing about non-compatibility, another thing I want to bring up with the issues, is that it is not compatible with other mods doing the same thing. So if you have two similar configuration overrides, and one, let's say, is for a shotgun and one is for the assault rifle, if they're not in the same mod, then you will be overriding another one. So again, if I run this debugger, and I'm just going to show you what I mean by that, to play test this, I've made two separate mods, and one for an assault rifle, one for the shotgun, and then I put the assault rifle and the shotgun on, and I looked at it in the game, and only the shotgun took effect. And the reason I think that is, and you can see they're giving you warnings because it conflicts, and I will continue to research how to do this in a better way. I have a theory that you have to replace the template itself for the gun, and I still have to figure out how to do that. Like, I tried it in a couple manners, but it didn't quite work, and it gave me full-on build errors, so it wouldn't even let me deploy it to the game. So let's say I did these two, override assault, override shotgun, because this one loads second, it seems. This is like the loading list, and I don't think you can move this in any way. You can't do that. The only tools out there that I know you can move things around is like Nexus Mod Manager. So the shotgun override runs after the assault override, and it overrides these changes to the config. It just picks one or the other, basically, depending on which way they load. So that's one drawback. But if you're doing this for you and you just want to do this again, for you, I would have no issues with this. There aren't, as far as I could tell, no, any issues. And if you made like a comprehensive adjustment to the whole game and you just made it all in one by just changing a bunch of I and I's, um, it will, you know, it, anybody downloading it would just have to know that's how it's done. But again, there's a better way to do it. I'm going to continue researching it, and I will put it on this video when we get to that, when I find that out, and I'll say, hey, go check out this video. This is my better way of doing this. But I just want, again, to get you a little more familiar with the tools and how I even got to this point to figure this out so I can step to the next level of making it better, right? So we do a proof of concept, we make sure it works, and then we go to the next level and make sure it works for everybody all the time. So again, I'm going to make a brand new mod. We're going to do new, project, default mod, and this time we're not going to override the shotgun. We're going to override the, what do we want? A sniper. Let's do my sniper mod. Sniper override. And again, you want to name your file right there, and this title here will define what your mod is called. So sniper override, and even if you put a space in there, it will take the space out, because if you ever used coding or tools, you don't want spaces in names in your variables. You want to use underscores. You want to use lowercase letters to separate the words in there. So the first letter of the variable is lowercase, and everything else is uppercase. Every other start of a word is uppercase. So that's what you want to do. Don't try not to use spaces in your custom variables if you make any. So with this default mod, and now we're on to the portion of the SDK tutorial and tips of how I got to that point. You'll have all these folders that load, and the XCOM game classes is where you're going to dig to figure out how to do any kind of configuration update. But first, because we know the INI exists and already has a configuration node in these INIs, we want to start there. And that's what you're going to be searching for. So let's find, I want to do the default weapon. Here's a tuning, difficulty overrides. There's a default weapon tuning. I wonder if that is, no, it's not in that classes. I didn't see it there. Anyway, where is it? Where is it? Well, let's just find sniper. And I'm again using Notepad++, so it gives me the ability to search through all these fun INI files all at once. And here we go, the sniper rifle conventional. It's in the default game data underscore weapon data. And I'm just going to increase the conventional sniper rifle. So I'm going to take this whole line, what it's named, copy that out, and then go back into my ModBuddy. Yes, I've created XCOM 2 mod project, and I want to search for that in here. And instead of using Control F, because that will just search in the current document, I'll open I mean, you could do the Control F, but I like the window. I like the big window, the Control Shift F, and this gives me a little bit more control, and it's a find and replace option too, so that's easier down the line. But that's what I use. So I'll do find all and sniper conventional base damage, because that's what I want to change. I want to change the base damage. And it's in 2 files here, or it's in 1 file in 2 locations. So if you double click on that find line, it'll take you to where it is. So there's the var config sniper conventional base damage, and weapon damage value is the type. Like here is the array, that's an array type. This is a custom weapon damage value. It's a custom type that they built for this, and int is a different type. That's a number. If you see something called a float, that's a decimal number. Ints are whole numbers. So just a little background information there. So now we know x2 item default weapon.uc is where the config is pulling from, and that's the x2 item default. That's in the XCOM game classes. And then you can see the class right here. That's the name, and it extends x2 item. And I've looked at, and here's the config that it uses, which is, again, back in our Notepad++, is default game data underscore weapon data, and that's up here, game data, weapon data. And for some reason, it drops certain words when you do configs, and I'll show you this later too. when we make our own config for this. Like XCOM and default, those words are dropped for whatever reason. I'm not sure when that happens. I need to do some more research into that. But in either case, I'm letting you know that does happen, and I construct my configs the same way. So now that we found the config, and all the configs here reach out to different files in your INIs, any config feature you see right like this will mean that it reaches out to an INI. And we want to take this one. We want to override this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our own custom class in our source sniper override, which is what I named my mod classes. We're going to put one in here. So you're going to right click on classes, your classes, new item. We're going to make an Unreal script because we're making a new UC. And I'm going to call this X2 item sniper override. The reason I use X2 item is because I want to kind of keep it similar to the class that I'm going to be affecting, which is the X2 item default weapons. So I'm going to name it that way just so I can be a little more informative. You don't need to name it with X2 item. You can name this whatever you want. I just try to keep things a little consistent that way to kind of remember where it's coming from. And then I'm going to name my class the exact same name of this file, so X2 item sniper override. And this class extends, and I'm capitalizing these things and they don't need to be capitalized at all, so that doesn't matter. So this X2 item sniper override, and I'm going to zoom in, sorry about that, it extends the X2 item default weapon. And I tried to extend the just X2 item. Like if you made a brand new weapon for the game and you wanted to add it to the pool, you would extend the X2 item class because that adds to that item grouping, and there's more stuff involved in that. If you look at the file new project and look at the weapon example, you can see what needs to be done to create a new weapon, which means including a template and then adding it to your game. So, and what I mean by adding it to your game, you go into this class that's created for you, the downloadable content info, sniper override, because that's what we call our num mod, and the static events of loading the game or making a new campaign. Those two are necessary for adding things to our game, but since we're not adding things to our game, you can just delete it. That's an unnecessary file, or you can leave it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything, and just to prove that point, I'm going to leave it, but it's not necessary for this. So okay, we have our class override, and we're extending the default weapon class, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull that same config that we're going to be trying to adjust out. We're going to take it and we're going to put it into our new class, because we're going to be overriding what's there right now in the config. And what else we could override in here is there are more things. So if we go down to sniper, and we can override a lot of other things here. So we're going to pull all these out too. Eye points I don't care about, trading supplies and value, don't care about, sound range. Let's make it the quietest sniper rifle in the world. We can do all these things. And the way you basically want to leave it the same. Everything needs to end in a semicolon. This isn't tradition, like a class declaration doesn't necessarily work like this in C# or some other coding languages, but in this ModBuddy it does. And also you can't assign the values in this directly. Like I can't just say equals 10 here. You do have to make a configuration. So you do config, and this is in parentheses, and I'm going to make this config, and I'm going to just call it sniper override again. So let's make that configuration. We've got our configs that are going to reach out to our config here, and then we're going to put that in the config folder, and we do add new item, configuration file, and I'm going to call it XCOM sniper override. And notice how I called it XCOM sniper override, but in my class, it drops things called sniper, or excuse me, XCOM, or I believe default. Default, at least in the game classes, the XCOM game classes, it does, and I'm pretty sure it would do this in here too. But I've been using XCOM as a word up front, and it's been dropping that. So you don't have to put XCOM sniper override in the actual class file. You just have to put sniper override, and it will find it. So here we want to define our classes, and first thing you do is you put a bracket, and you basically put the location of this class in the bracket. So sniper override dot and the name of your class. So sniper override, that's the name of the mod, the name of this folder here in the source, and then sniper override dot x2 item underscore sniper override. And again, this is very simple. So going to be very similar for anything that you do in terms of configurations. Find it in the INI, search for it in this area, so Control Shift F or just Control F, and then make sure you're searching through the entire solution. I'll show you that one more time. You want to search the entire solution, and then it will find those lines in the classes, and then you can at least identify what class you're going to need to extend, and then you go from there. And then one drawback again is that if you extend one class, so we're extending the default weapon class, you will not be able to use a second mod that extends that same class. It will override each other, and only one will be there. And to quickly search for default weapons, if I could spell it right, you search in this little box on the right here. I just want to make sure that it's not default weapons. It is default weapons. So I want to, one little change like that, one drop of an S, and it won't tell you, because in traditional Visual Studio, you have IntelliSense that says, hey, we don't know what this is. Can you make sure this is correct? And it gives you a little squiggly line, like kind of like in Microsoft Word. And like it would notice that S wasn't there, and it would let me know. But this is an extension of it. This is kind of a custom app that FireAxis made, so it's not necessarily that intelligent, unfortunately for us. So it's good to double check things, like double check the names of your class. If it's not working, there's a potential thing that you're missing a letter somewhere, or you forgot something, and the build will let you know often if it can notice it. And when you do build solution, it often does find little things for you, but not always. So what we're going to do is pull these into here, and I use Control F replace, find what, look in, so replace in files. So we want to take out the semicolons, current document, replace with the space, replace all, there they go. And we don't want these var configs either, because this is a configuration file. We just need to name our configuration options. So var config int, I want to replace with space. Why won't it let me? It's not happy with me apparently. Whatever. Oops. I try not to use the mouse like this as much as possible. Just make it a little quicker, but whatever. There's always a risk there that you do it in the entire solution, and then out the whole solution you lose all your, you lose all the semicolons, which will break a lot of things. But it is what it is. Be careful. So okay, here we can actually, and you see here, like this needed to be there, this semicolon, and it's at the beginning, and that makes it a commented outline. The configs use different things for that. The configuration INIs do different things, like in the class, if you wanted to comment something out, you would just do like this double slash, and then to comment out whole sections, like when you start messing around with stuff, then you're like, this isn't working, I'm going to revert back to what I know is working and verify it still is. You do /* and it went white, but and then you end it with */ and it grabs a whole section, And that's how you can even comment things out in between lines, right? So if I just wanted to comment config out, and I apologize, I know we were moving in one direction, but these are helpful tips, I hope, so that you can just comment one word out, because otherwise, if you did this, it would just comment the whole line. And comments are like they're ignored. They're not looked at in the whole slew of things. They're just ignored by the build, and it's there for more informational purposes. So definitely make sure you write down little helpful tips for yourself that will do wonders. So aim we want to put at 100, and in configuration files you actually don't need a semicolon at the end. The ionize, the crit chance, you want 100. The clip size, let's make it 20. Something crazy. Sound range, you want 0, so it's the quietest sniper rifle. And environmental damage, you want to triple it. We're going to make it 15. We're going to make this stuff, any sniper bullet will just blast through buildings. We're talking about a 50K or 50 cal rifle here. Now, base damage, and you want to definitely look at these ionize to identify how things are done. So here, this is where my example came from. So that's crit chance was 10 originally, clip size was 3, sound range was 27. I kept pretty close to this because if you look at the base damage, and even in the class file of the X2 item class, let's go back in there, weapons. If you look at the sniper rifle base damage, or any of these, it's not an int, it's not a number, it's a weapon damage value. It's a specific line, it's something created for the config specifically. And if you look at the INI again, this gives us a hint of what it should be. So it's a whole line of things: damage, spread, +1, crit, pierce. I mean, surprising that it has crit twice in the sniper. Oh, it's what the crit is, not the crit chance. There we go. All right, so we want to make sure we pull that whole thing into our configuration and then make the adjustment there. So let's say we're going to make it a 10 instead, and we're going to do the crit of 5 when it hits. And our piercing, we wanted to do some piercing, and the spread being give or take 3. So there we go. This is our configuration override. I'm going to save that. We're looking at our class. We got our config set up. We have the extension to the default weapon. We have the sniper override class. Boom, we have that set up. And that, my friends, is it. That's all you got to do. I know it's a bit long-winded. Giving a little information there, left and right. So let's build the solution. Verify that it works together. We didn't forget anything. And building a solution will often give you some info, whether this is going to work. If there's no errors, great. If there's warnings, you can ignore them. Of course, we want to do stuff without any errors and any warnings. And again, I will put out a video for how to do. There's 6 unique warnings right there if you were watching down here. I will put out another video as soon as I figure out how to do weapon overrides without having to have that red screen. I think it's something with the templates, and when I figure that out, it should help figure out. And we have one succeeded build there, and so we're going to play this. I'm going to show you in the game. When I figure that out, it should be able to figure out how to do configuration overrides while having multiple configuration overrides for the same file. Like, let's say somebody makes an awesome adjustment to, again, the weapon choice, the assault rifles, but you want this other guy's adjustment to shotguns, and you don't want to pull it all. They don't have, they're not together, and it's 2 mods. It won't work currently. So I'm going to be trying to figure out how to do that, because it will only benefit us all later as well. When other people want to make multiple overrides to the same file. So we loaded the sniper override, and then we're going to load the game and show you how that looks in game. And I'm putting this video out there just so people can kind of figure out how to do this, and then maybe you'll reach the point of figuring out before I will. And I would hope that you share, because being a modder, it's all about community efforts. Help with the documentation, help with figuring things out, help your fellow modder, and then we could all have a better XCOM 2 game. There's no reason to hoard secrets. It's not helpful for anyone. And of course, adding a weapon to the game is far less, like, you know, you can do multiples of those, and because it doesn't replace anything, it doesn't conflict with anything. Let's go to the sharpshooter, load out. And if you look at the sniper rifle, our damage is huge, the clip size is huge, the critical chance is huge, the aim is packed, and there you go. There's your sniper override, and it did not affect other sniper rifles. Like the Gauss rifle, the same, Plasma Lance is the same. We only did it to conventional sniper rifle. And if you look at the other weapons, they're still working and effective. And there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to look at my video. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment, and I will continue to research as promised for you and for myself, of course. This is fun for me, so I appreciate it. If you like the video, thank you. Great, I appreciate it. If you subscribe, I appreciate it even more. And look forward to more videos. I will be looking at how to add things to the game, including how to add a class. I think that's one of the coolest things you could do, is make your custom classes. There's a bunch of them already out there, and it's relatively easy and it works with everything else. So that's my next video. That look for that as number 3. Is it 3? Are we at 3? Yes, we will be at 3. This is 2. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Dizzy out. Peace.